So, right, so today we are gonna make indexes higher than 1 to 100,000. So, I'll make a simple index, hop onto Dex, I'll stop my service so that my brother doesn't go in my game, because I know that. So, part index 5. The index itself has a core script where it runs, and the max value is 100,000. There's apparently a way I could just do, which is change that to 1,000,000. And now we can have an index higher than 100,000. Now we're going to change its value to part index 1. Exactly 1,000,000. 1,000,000. 1,000,000 index inside of that. And now we have to rename our part index to something like 1, 2. Holy crap. We now have 1,000,000 index. And now if I run give me index, we actually truly have 1,000,000 index. You can tell by 6 zeros. There's no way we can have an index higher than 100,000. Now, I wonder if resize parts from index 1 to 1,000,000 will work. So like resize part 1,000,000. So about like 6 zeros on our screen right now to exact 40, 40, 40. The part didn't get resized. And that is because the index itself hasn't even did anything to it. And it didn't resize its main index to that 1,000,000. Instead, it just chose 100,000. So, like I'd say, make part the limit, which is 100,000, resize part 1,000,000, exact 40, 40, 40, which is at least the amount of 6 zeros on our index screen. And that didn't get resized at all. So what the hell is that command? Well, it's because indexes don't support between up to 100,000. That's what the game said. But we can glitch the index by resizing it. So like terrain part 1. So 1,000,000 water. That didn't seem to work. Instead, it must have been something where the core script is, where terrain part 5, where we place the index at, would work. But yeah, it is working. So the reason why the command wouldn't work at 1,000,000 index is because of the script running in the background. Part index 1,000,000. Or something like that. We can't open the script, and that is because Dex doesn't support it yet as an application. Opening sound will do nothing, and that is typically because it doesn't work like that. We have move handle on there, but it wouldn't be deleted as well. So yeah, you can't do that apparently, as it would default the index to 5. So what I would say is that you can only make parts with an index of 100,000. I did 6 zeros there, but it only translated as 5 zeros, and it showed up as 1,000,000 on there. So you can see that successful script or core script doesn't even work, as that wouldn't do the change. Maybe what will do a change is that we might have to see if I can edit the scripts containing 1 million. So we have to do 1 0 here. So that means we've got 6 zeros in the part index 1 million. Inside of properties, we are going to change that to 1 million too. And then its value to 1 million. 8 of its values is now parented to its index itself. And as you can see here, I would rather say I would turn off archivable to off. But now, as you can see here, we now have index 1 million and the value 1 million and the name 1 million. Which is really weird. And the index is 1 million. And again, with indexes 1 million, it will always be indexed 1 million. So there's 1 million index, literally 6 zeros on the index, and what we can't do is it can't change the index legitimately. So you can see that it's counted as 1 million. So there's a script inside of the item gear for one that I have, which is where I can't get it to change to 1 million. Legitimately, you can't get it 1 million. So I have to go inside of the indexing tool and we'll see if we could edit what it does. As you can see here, I can't edit that because the script is always the same as the example itself. Local test 5 indexer. So there's a limit inside of a GUI where the indexer tool in a GUI wouldn't show as events. But then type in 0 to remove an index. However, we wanted to see about index 0, so no index. Absolutely no index. 0 index at all. So you can see the scripts, they just run off of that. So that's like a fake script. The Dex doesn't have support for full-on Dex scripting, which will always be like this. So that means we'll be stuck with the exact index 1 million. So I've got that to be 1 million. So it's just exactly 6 zeros when I press OK. But then, when I do terrainpart 1 million water, it wouldn't work. And that is probably because the index's script inside of the gear won't be able to change. And this could be because we can't get it a 1 million index. It still relies on its default index, and it relies on the script revealed. So I can't click on any of those view or get. The code doesn't work. So there must be a way to mod this script of ah_index to get to 1 million index without using the indexing tool. And it's because the game's devs didn't realise that if you index it higher than 1 million, it wouldn't work. But it simply wouldn't do that. I want the game devs to actually implement for 1 million index. So you can see it's still 1 million on the setting here. But we don't see the script inside where it calls it 1 inside of another index data. ah_index has a minimal value of 1. So I could change that to probably, I would say, I'd go even higher. Maybe I would change the index to me. I might actually break the value, and we'll see if I could get it any higher. But yeah, let us don't do it. -5 wouldn't work. 0 wouldn't work. Maybe we've got a trick that I could do up my sleeve, where I could have a really high index value, like this. But unfortunately, it can actually go up to six zeros. So you can see it goes up to 1 million. Now, let's go a little higher. And inside of that, we might actually do 8 zeros in the max value. Inside of a script of our index. Now we have 7 zeros in the index. But unfortunately, the index's data wouldn't count as being the 10 million index. The game will let us do 10 million, but it's a value. Now we're going to go even higher. Maybe we'll go a little bit higher than this now. Maybe we'll do 10 trillion index. 10 trillion of it in our game. So we're going to go even insane here. 10 trillion index. And that is 10 zeros in the index. Now, what if there's a way to change the minimal index to 0? Well, we can do that now. And we can call it 0. So, instead of calling it the index for some reason, we could call it 0. Oh, now I've deleted the index completely. Whoopsies, and I flopped back. So yeah, I accidentally deleted age_index or moved it accidentally. But it's because I actually messed up. So, and I have to use B tools to delete that, and actually continue with making another part with the exact index, and then edit it with a different index, an appropriate index, like I'd say we're going to do 0. No index at all. 0. There's literally no index in the game. What the hell? Part index 0. So 0 index. I'm going to change it to 0. So 0 index. 0. 0. So I have no index. It just shows index 0. There's no way I could just do that. Because if I do terrain part 0 water, it will do the nearest index 1. But then if I make a part 1 and then terrain part 0 water, it will not terrain it. And that is because it's only terrain parting 0 the water, but the script for index 0 isn't existing. There must be a script inside of a class name where the value wouldn't be like that. So what if we delete age_index, refresh. Now we see part index 0. But then it won't do it because it will not work. Because it will count. But then the index itself is a script, so technically it counts. So there must be a script in the value where it shows 1 inside of it. But then we can actually edit it. So because Dex hasn't edited the assembly root part, we can do 0, refresh a little bit. Now so use part index 0. 0 index, and we are going to have a look on which ones are 0 in the index. A script must be inside of this that has a setting, and yeah, it doesn't have it at all. It still is index 1. So like, delete that index. And now, I can now put letters inside of an index, like index. And when I call it W2, it wouldn't work. Because in these numbers, there you go, it says 2. But then, it wouldn't work. It's because it's still script. Locked. We can enable locked, but then it won't lock because indexes don't work like this. So, there must be an idea. So, what if we change the index to 234 and we'll see the name 234 in BTools? Well, that is how we see it, because that is how it works. And the index would always be 234. Without 234, it'd be the same as that. Now, we could have 2 index, but now we're going to glitch the numbers out and call it an even stronger indefinite value of 234 trillion in the index. And yep, it's just not working. So it didn't count. So we're going to be calling it index. Well, I'd say it wouldn't work now because I forgot the brackets. Yeah, it's now requesting the index, so. Now I've even put as bigger values of indexes. But you could always see that I could edit the index. But it doesn't work like that because it needs the script to run it. So I'd end up just changing the index to 2, but then it's now in AX_index. But then when I set all that around like this, it won't work because it's just, you can see like a flash trigger, but not on my frame rate. So I'd always say that changing the index higher than this and going higher than that wouldn't work because it will not work all the time because the index doesn't count. There's script running and it knows what I'm doing. So now I wonder if there's a way to save indexes so then the script doesn't cache when making it. So I'm gonna make a command. So make part 5. Well, we got Beatles out, so I will change the index to 1 million again. But then I'd go a little bit higher and then look at its value. So we need to focus on how many zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I accidentally just put a 0 on minus. 4. So it's like 4 zeros. 5, 6, 7, 8. So it's like 10 million there. And then we click out of it. And then I'm going to close it. to save it up. So index 10 million. So index 10 million, create, and then I'm going to unload it and we'll see if I called it that index. So yeah, I have to peek clear. Load up. Okay, I'll have to load up that, but I have to load it from that if I don't know the name. Because you can end it this, load the index, and then it's probably not going to do terrain part 1. As it wouldn't work. And then when I do terrain part 3 water, it wouldn't work too. I think it's because it's now no longer cached inside of it. And we've modified it a lot, but it's still, on the value it shows 10. So then, when I do terrain part 10 water, it wouldn't work! Yeah, I've actually called it. Yeah, I actually managed to glitch this out now. It's no longer indexing 10 water. We can now only index 10 million for water now. Instead, I've actually managed to glitch it for real. Index 10. And then, when I do terrain part 10, it actually doesn't even work. Even if index it 10 inside of value. And even if a value indexes at 10. So, actually, I managed to actually glitch the value out, and now we can now do terrain part 10 million water, I think. And that basically is it, guys. You can actually index higher than 100,000. So, anyways, like and subscribe, turn on notifications, see you next time in this video.